There's a skill to learn in Overwatch that significantly levels up your support gameplay. The skill is simply to know when to heal and when to do damage as a support. So the thing that makes supports unique is that all of them can consistently heal teammates. But it's important to note that all of them can also do damage whenever they want. Many players ignore this damage part and falsely believe that healing the team is all a support should do in a match. But the reality is, both options should be considered. Sometimes it's better to heal, sometimes it's better to DPS, depending on the situation. So when do you actually want to do which? The first thing to mention here is, if only one option is available, then you just do that. For example here, the only option is healing because there are no enemies on screen to shoot. So you obviously want to heal here. Likewise, if damage is the only option, like here, because all teammates are full HP, then you DPS. So that was easy, but most of the time there are both targets to heal and targets to damage available. Which option to choose in these situations depends on a lot of things and is hard to really generalize. But there are two important factors that always heavily influence this decision and are very helpful to consider. Those are 1, how much damage or healing you are expected to deal to the available targets, and 2, how high their max health is. I will go over gameplay examples now to explain these. Here's a Juno example on Lijiang. We have the option to either shoot this enemy Winston or heal Kiriko. The right play would be healing Kiriko, and these two factors I just listed are a big reason why. The first one is the expected damage or healing. So we are simply looking at how much healing is expected if we decide to heal Kiriko and how much damage is expected if we decide to shoot Winston. Juno's gun does 93 healing per second, and although Kiriko has a small hitbox, I'd say 70 healing per second would be realistic because she is close and is walking away from Winston in a straight line. That minus 30% due to the global healing reduction passive, making the expected healing about 50. Juno's gun does a bit more damage than healing, and Winston has a big hitbox, but he does have lots of armor left, and Juno's damage is very weak against armor. So overall, I'd say 60 DPS is expected. So the first factor alone actually slightly favors shooting Winston. But we haven't looked at the second one yet, which is the max HP of the available targets. Kiriko has 225, Winston has 625. Why is this important? 100 damage on a Tracer is worth way more than the same 100 damage on a Roadhog, because 100 is a way higher portion of Tracer's max health. The same applies here. 50 healing per second is 22% of Kiriko's max health, while 60 DPS is only 10% of Winston's max health, making Kiriko the far better target for us. So the end result of these two factors and what ultimately matters is actually the portion of the target's max health you are expected to heal or damage. The higher this portion, the more priority the target has for you. An important thing to understand about the first factor is that the expected damage and healing depend a lot on the character you are playing and the specific weapon of your character. There are many weapons and abilities that can just lock onto a target without really having to aim, like Mercy's or Wuyang's heal beam. The expected damage and heal output of such weapons is always similar no matter what, cause it's guaranteed to always get pretty much the full amount. Standard hitscan weapons on the other hand, like Ana's or Illari's rifle, have a strongly varying output. The target's hitbox, distance and movement, as well as your aim, all play a large role in how much damage or healing is expected. And then there are the special unique weapons, like Wuyang's primary or Baptiste's secondary. Damage and healing of those weapons also varies a lot, but there are additional things that influence this. If we take a look at Wuyang's primary for example, it is much more effective against grounded targets than flying targets or double jumping Genjis because of the slow projectiles. It's also much better for targets below you for the splash damage than targets above you. So for the first factor, it's crucial to kind of know the strengths and weaknesses of your weapon and have a feeling for which targets your heal or damage output is higher and for which targets it's lower. You might have already noticed that these tips are not only for knowing when to heal or damage, but for target priority in general, even for the other roles. As I said earlier in the video though, there's much more that goes into this than just the two factors. I just focus more on these because they are always a major part of finding the right target in every situation. Another thing to consider would be survivability cooldowns. A Reaper that you know has just used Wraith has way higher priority than if he still had it. Same goes for Mei without Ice Block and Wall or Zarya without Bubbles. This can also apply to ults. A Winston with Primal is a lower priority target to both shoot and heal, cause whenever he gets low, he can just press Q and get 1000 HP. An obvious one to consider is how low your available targets are. Critical health targets are of course generally a higher priority than full HP targets. Paying attention to how aggressively positioned your targets are is very useful too. In this example, both Zen and Soldier are low HP. Soldier is the better target to heal though, because he's in a more aggressive, more dangerous position than Zen. Zen, because he's in a safe position, will survive even if he doesn't get heal. Healing Soldier on the other hand might make the difference between him living or dying. Damage reduction is actually something that can sometimes heavily affect your choice as well. We already talked about how armor can severely cripple your damage output, but damage reduction is worth considering not only for enemies, but for teammates too. Healing a nano teammate, for example, is very effective because nano grants 50% damage reduction, making your healing basically twice as effective because the nano target is only taking half the normal damage. So damage reduction on enemies makes them a lower priority to shoot, while damage reduction on teammates makes them a higher priority to heal. And lastly, how much value your available targets are getting. An ulting Sojourn or an ulting Emray are super high priority targets because of how deadly they are during their ults. As you can see, there are a ton of things that go into this, and it's something you can basically always improve at, even the best players still can. And if you do get better at it, it makes a big difference in your gameplay. Also, if this is too much at once, try to first focus on these 2 factors from earlier, because again, those are the most important and you can always apply them. I hope this helped, and good luck in your games.